It is true that the verse was quoted in relation to the Uhud battle to reprimand the Prophet's companions who had let him down by fleeing and leaving him alone with Imam Ali amidst the non-Muslim warriors. But the verse also speaks of the future. It says that a group of people would turn back and become apostates. They would bring no harm to Allah because they would actually be harming themselves, as they would go to hell. On the other hand, another group of people would keep their faith and would be well rewarded by Allah and enter the heaven. This is because they were grateful to Allah for His blessing by keeping their allegiance to His Prophet and His rightful successor. It is now evident that the crime was described by these hadiths, and this is in consistence with the Quran. Therefore, it is obvious that the Shiite version of the Prophet's assassination is trustworthy. But is there any evidence in the resources of Bakri sect that supports the Shiite version and shows involvement of the Prophet's two wives in the crime? In fact, most of the hadiths that reach us through the pious Imams from among the Prophet's descendants, peace be upon all of them, are supported by hadiths in Bakri resources, even if implicitly. It is here that the power of Shi'ism, as it does not rely only on Shiite resources, rather it brings forth supporting evidence from the sources of other sects for the facts put forth by the Imams. There is a hadith related by the great scholars of Bakri sect, like Bukhari, Muslim, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and Ibn Kathir. In that hadith, Aisha confesses that when the Prophet was asleep during his illness, she put a strange substance into his mouth with the help of the other wives. Aisha did it intentionally despite a Prophet's prohibition. When the Prophet woke up, he saw the residuals of the substance that they had put into his mouth. He angrily asked what it was and who had disobeyed his orders. Aisha and her collaborators justified their action, saying that it was just a medication. Following that, they accused the Prophet's uncle, Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. However, the Prophet acquitted his uncle and ordered that those who were with him in the room should be punished by having the same substance put into their mouths. Aisha relates, لددنا رسول الله في مرضه وجعل يشير إلينا ألا تلدوني فقلنا كراهية المريض بالدواء فلما أفاق قال من فعل هذا ألم أنهكم أن تلدوني قلنا عمك العباس تخوف أن يكون بك ذات الجنب فقال صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إنها من الشيطان وما كان الله ليسلطه علي لا يبقى منكم أحد في البيت إلا لد وأنا أنظر إلا العباس فإنه لم يشهدكم. When Allah's Prophet contracted the terminal disease, he told us, don't put the medicine in my mouth. But we disobeyed him on the ground that every patient dislikes medication. So we put the substance in his mouth. When he regained his senses, he wondered, who did that? Have I not admonished you not to do that? So we said, it is your uncle Al-Abbas who thought that you might have contracted a lateral tumor. The Prophet said, this disease is caused by the devil. I cannot contract it. The Prophet ordered that everyone in the house must put the same substance into their mouths, except Al-Abbas, as the Prophet said, he was not with you. It seems that people were confused about what had happened to the Prophet. This was the matter that forced Aisha to relate this hadith. This was the matter that forced Aisha to relate this hadith in an attempt to falsify and conceal the truth. She wanted to hide the truth of the substance that she put into the mouth of the Prophet, claiming that it was a medication. She explained that what she made was lead, which means administering medication to a side of the mouth. What exactly was that strange substance? Why did Aisha and her collaborators intend to put it into the Prophet's mouth during his sleep? Why did Aisha and her collaborators falsely accuse Al-Abbas of the crime? Why did the Prophet order to have them punished by putting the substance into their mouth? Basically, how could Aisha and her collaborators disobey the word of the Prophet? These controversies prove that a serious crime was perpetrated against the Prophet. If there had been no crime, the Prophet would not have ordered to punish the perpetrators. If that substance had been indeed a medicine, the Prophet would not have forbidden it to be put into his mouth. This would not have stirred his anger. Therefore, that substance must have been the poison that the Prophet's sons spoke of later. Those who helped Aisha prepare it must have been Hafsa, Abu Bakr, and Umar, whose names were not revealed by Aisha in her hadith on that strange substance. Their interest was associated with the Prophet's homicide, as they were going to seize power and oust his family from there. There remains a question unanswered. Can the two wives of the Prophet dare to kill him? Is it possible that Abu Bakr and Umar, who were among the Prophet's companions, dared to commit such a crime? The answer is, it is not unlikely at all, because the Quran mentioned that the two wives of the Prophets, Nuh and Lut, alayhim as-salam, peace be upon them, betrayed them and would go to hell. These verses in the chapter At-Tahrim were revealed in the first place to address Aisha and Hafsa by setting this example. In the same chapter, Allah testified the infidelity and wrongdoing of Aisha and Hafsa. He threatened them strongly should they fail to repent, as I explained earlier.